thing, I wish that we had different microphones. We got the ones at the county just work when somebody talks into them. Like, come on. So then we'll try calling the meeting to order again with the adoption of the agenda and a recommendation that West Elgin Council hereby adopts the agenda as presented. Mover and seconder, please. Moved by Camerton, seconded by Rowe. All in favor? That is carried. First item we have is closed session recommendation to council of the municipality of West Elgin. West Elgin Council hereby proceeds into a closed session at
9:01 a.m.
9:01 a.m. under section 239 2B of the Municipal Act ROS 2001. Consideration will be given to matters pertaining to an identifiable individual, including a municipal or board employee. Mover and seconder, please. Tellier and Cameron, all in favor? And that is carried. We are now in closed. As soon as you close the door, then we'll be all set. Okay, so we are out of closed. We have a report from closed.
Yes, so Mayor McPhail, you're reporting out at 9:29 a.m. That direction was given to staff regarding matters pertaining to an identifiable individual.
Okay, mover and seconder for that. Moved by Cameron and seconded by Leatham. All in favor? That is carried. Certainly, again, reminding you to disclose any pecuniary interest. And I see none. And we have our 9:30 delegation, and our two guests certainly are no strangers to anybody in the room. Good morning and welcome to Warden Marks and County CEO Julie Gagnon. And you're going to update us on the wonderful work that you guys have been doing at Elgin County.
Mayor McPhail, thank you for the welcome. Good morning to everyone. It is so nice to be out and in person. We haven't had much of that and we've missed it. So, you know, it's so important to put names to faces and you know, remind, it's just nice to be out. So again, good morning, West Elgin Council. I want to thank you for inviting the County of Elgin to your meeting today to provide an update about county activities over the course of 2021 and to let you know about some of the exciting projects that are underway in Elgin. Cultivating a close working relationship with our local municipal partners is a top priority of County Council. And I hope to engage in open two-way conversation regarding your county's council's priorities. The County of Elgin already partners with the municipality of West Elgin to provide seamless, efficient services to local residents, and we look forward to enhanced partnerships in the future. In 2020, Council completed both a strategic plan for 2020-22, as well as a service delivery review. Both the goals and priorities contained in this strategic plan, as well as recommendations from the service delivery review, have guided Elgin's actions over the past year. The COVID-19 pandemic continues to be a challenge to all municipalities. However, we've all become accustomed to navigating rapidly changing circumstances together as a team, ensuring a consistent and coordinated response across the county. In spite of the pandemic, Elgin County has had an extremely productive year. We have invested significantly in our critical infrastructure, begun a coordinated review of our official plan, engaged with the public with increased frequency using new and diverse methods, and begun the process of a digital transformation with a focus on rural connectivity. I would now like to turn the presentation over to our CEO, Julie Gagnon, for further details. Julie.
Thanks, Mr. Warden, Your Worship, members of council. Thanks for inviting us today. It's always a pleasure to visit your municipality. So Elgin's programs and initiatives are driven by Council's 2020 to 2022 strategic plan, as well as the recommendations coming from the service delivery review. Just to recap, Council's strategic plan has three overarching priorities. One is to serve Elgin, to redesign how we respond to community needs in a creative and sustainable way. Growing Elgin, we want to continue to be the place where people want to live, work, and play. And investing in Elgin, we want to continue to make responsible financial decisions. In November of 2020, a consultant group who we hired to complete a service delivery review provided some recommendations. And just to back up a bit and talk about what the priorities of that service delivery review were, there were three priorities. One was to review and improve the county's human and community services with a focus on long-term care. The second was to examine and improve the county's internal operations, resolving some of our remaining paper-based processes and leveraging technologies and strategies like that. And the third was to review, improve, and potentially expand upon shared services that we have with our partner municipalities, as well as the City of St. Thomas. So you asked and we listened. One thing that came from our Wardens Roadshow last year was that our municipal partners wanted us to enhance our communication efforts with our local municipal partners. So I hope you've realized our efforts in that area. And certainly if there's any more we can do, we'd be happy to respond accordingly. We have ongoing weekly meetings with our local CAOs. We have a high functioning administrators group across the county, and we have worked very hard over the past 19 months to try to coordinate our efforts, as the warden mentioned, in our response to the COVID-19 pandemic and other strategies. So I'm thrilled to get to work with your CAO, Magda. She's a tremendous asset to our administrators group and helps drive a number of initiatives forward. So next slide, please. As the warden mentioned, we're incredibly proud of a number of infrastructure projects that have recently been completed over the past year or are currently underway. So this year we completed a full structural, mechanical, and electrical rehabilitation of the King George Lift Bridge in Port Stanley. We removed the temporary bridge in Port Bruce and relocated it to Southold to replace the Meeks Bridge. And we anticipate that bridge to open even in the coming days. Completed a Village of Rodney reconstruction in West Elgin. And we're currently, pardon me, we're currently in the process of developing a transportation master plan that we hope to wrap up in the spring of 2022. We hired a senior engineering design and construction technologist, and that will bring engineering design in-house. And I believe your municipality has already benefited from that service, and we hope to expand that as a formalized shared service with our municipal partners. So right now it's still a pilot, and we're providing that service to Dutton Dunwich as well. Terrace Lodge redevelopment project is on schedule and within budget, and we hope to have that project completed on time in 2023. So the structural steel is in place and it's starting to take shape. In terms of planning and economic development, we're partway through our 5-year review of the county's official plan, and we hope to wrap that up in January, February of 2022. It's important to note that there is a public information session coming up to cover the west of Elgin, and that's on Wednesday, November 3rd. It'll be at the theater in Dutton on 199 Curry Road. Starts at 6:30. Anyone who's interested in attending can just come. We do have capacity restrictions of 38, so we'll hopefully be able to move people in and out. But we'll send email information to anyone who's registered to participate in the official plan process through our website. And I'll share more information about how to engage with Elgin soon. We hired a planning technician to take on the role of secretary treasurer for the Land Division Committee and provide an enhanced customer-facing experience for anyone who needed help with land division applications or had other planning inquiries at the county. We're working with the Township of Southold to facilitate the redevelopment of the former Ford assembly plant in Talbotville. So we're working with the Broccolini development group there. And we've been streamlining the planning process to ensure that the county provides responsive engineering services to Broccolini's aggressive timelines. And we're incredibly proud of that work and the partnership that we have with Southold. Economic Development Planning and GIS is working with all of our local municipal partners to develop a digitally mapped vacant land inventory. And that's something that was noted as being outstanding. And so everyone's pretty excited for that work to wrap up. So we all have that inventory to share with prospective developers. Economic Development is also participating in a Fields to Forks campaign with CTV. And I've seen those ads running and they're really good. So if you haven't seen them, you can do a quick Google search and you'll be able to come across those very quickly. In terms of culture and community engagement, we have a number of murals celebrating the history of transportation going up across the county. And we hope to have that work completed in the spring of 2022. And that's thanks to a very generous bequest left to the county from the Donavera Evans Bushel estate. The Terrace Lodge Redevelopment Fundraising Committee has undertaken some remarkable work within some very challenging times. So they've endeavored to raise money in support of some value-added features for the Terrace Lodge redevelopment project. And to date, they've raised a remarkable $113,000. And that number continues to go up week by week. So we're proud of that committee's work, which is led by Councillor Giguère. This campaign will run for 3 years, and there's lots of information about the campaign available on the county's website. We have launched a dedicated engagement site on the county's website. So the site is www.engageelgin.ca, and you'll find lots of ways to engage in a number of projects and initiatives that we have underway right now, including the county's official plan. So if you're interested in learning more about that process, or the Elgin Natural Heritage System Study, or the Transportation Master Plan, or the Terrace Lodge redevelopment project, I encourage all members of council and any members of the public who are joining today's meeting to visit that site. Over the course of the last year, we've gathered a lot of public opinions through surveys, because it's been hard to reach members of our public through traditional means. So we have lots of information now that we can use to help inform our transportation planning, our connectivity strategy, accessibility, and budget spending. We partnered with our local municipal partners to organize and promote activities related to the Truth and Reconciliation Day, and I'd like to commend your council for an incredible event that was held in your community. Very, very well done. We're thrilled to announce that the Elgin County Wardens Golf Tournament raised an incredible $20,000 in support of the Elgin Middlesex United Way. A main focus for council has been on technology and innovation. In support of this priority, council hired a director of information technology services, and we're in the process of developing a digital transformation strategy, and that will likely continue to take shape, but will take a couple of years to come to fruition because it has a lot of moving parts, and we have some internal processes to correct before we're able to fully execute kind of the next stage of our transformation there. Council's Connectivity Committee continues to work aggressively on solving Elgin's challenges associated with broadband and internet availability in our community. The committee and council hired IBI Consultant Group to do some data collection and some testing within our community and come up with a series of recommendations for council's consideration. And we anticipate having those recommendations in the coming month. So more to come there. And once we know more, we'll be able to share that information directly with your council. We have a couple of back of house initiatives that will help us create some efficiencies at the county, one of which is a human capital management software. This integrates our scheduling, payroll, and other HR functions. And we're currently in the implementation phase. We have launched our first ever corporate employee intranet. And this is a way for us to engage with council and with staff and provide kind of a one-stop shop for staff to access policies, organizational updates, and other relevant information. So a chance for us to increase our level of engagement that we have with our 530 staff. In terms of partnerships, this is one area that we're particularly proud of. We are currently undertaking a review of the road maintenance agreement with all of our local municipal partners who administer the maintenance on our county roads on behalf of the county. So we anticipate that will wrap up in the coming weeks. So excited to see the results of that. We're also in the process of exploring a formalized shared service agreement with any interested local municipal partners, and we're well on our way to developing that agreement now. We're currently providing community emergency management coordinator services to Southwold, Dutton, Dunwich, and West Elgin, and temporarily to the township of Malahide. And we've been recognized by the provincial government as a site for a regional fire training college. This is following the closure of the fire school in Gravenhurst. And we're thrilled that we're able to offer this service locally and be able to offset some of the costs associated with fire training that used to happen, you know, when it comes to sending your fire volunteers off-site. You know, it takes them away from their families. There's costs associated with travel. So we're very excited to launch 40 courses next year. We continue to work closely with all of our local municipal partners to provide a consistent and coordinated approach to the COVID-19 pandemic. And again, I'd like to commend Magda for her leadership in this area. The Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan was developed jointly with the town of Elmer and the city of St. Thomas, and all municipal councils in Elgin adopted that before the deadline of July 1st. And through that process, we've identified 5 high-level priority areas for our community. And those are each represented by action tables, and then they dovetail together through an integration table. And we're really coordinating our efforts there. And on November 10th, Elmer, St. Thomas, and Elgin will host a housing and homelessness forum. So we'll share information. If you haven't received that information yet, we'll send a reminder out. But it would be great if your council and senior staff were able to attend that forum. So we'll be sharing information about the housing and homelessness work that has the study that has been conducted across the county at that forum, and we'll hear from some best practices that are taking place across the county. As well, there'll be a social services presentation and some more information about the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. So I think that's an event you won't want to miss. We'll make sure that for those who aren't able to attend, that we record the event and have that available for you as well. So again, thank you very much to Magda for her interest in coordinated efforts over the past year since we last visited. And we're incredibly proud of all of the shared services that we have. You know, sometimes we leverage the expertise and support from the county, and other times we leverage the expertise and support that you have locally. So thank you very much for working with us. And we look forward to a lot of continued work together and lots of exciting initiatives to come. And at this time, I'd like to pass things back to Warden Marks to discuss local priorities.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Julie. It has been a busy year, and at times it's been a tough year. This pandemic has taken its toll on a lot of us. I can remember, if you think back, the one day that really hit me was just before the long weekend in May, when we were going back into lockdown, and it seemed pretty grim. And, you know, here we are, and there's sunshine coming, hopefully. So we've got that optimism, and when you look back through it all, we've just kept working, and lots of good things happened. So very pleased. I was up to Rodney before and after to reconstruction with Mayor McPhail. We were there for Toonie Tuesday. I had a great day. Saw some faces I hadn't seen in a long time, so it was nice. So good things happening from one end of the county to the other. But we're here today, you know, to reconnect, I guess, and like to hear, you know, comments. If you have questions, wish lists, anything we can do to help, because I know I speak for Julie and I and Duncan, we really value teamwork. I have the opportunity tonight to end up the day down in Stratfordville to open up a library elevator. So it's, you know, it's nice to be out and tour the county again. So I'll kind of open the floor for any questions or comments, please.
Yeah, several of the things that I think of as priorities you've addressed in your presentation, and so that's great. I'm thinking specifically of the high-speed internet access that is so challenging for many in our community. The affordable housing and homelessness presentation, I'm looking forward to that to see if it can help us here as well, because we know that's an issue. A couple of things I didn't hear, and you know, it could be because it's our problem and not so much the county, but daycare is really an issue here, and we're really struggling with whether we're going to ever get some additional daycare spaces. I don't know whether there's a way that the county can help us with that. I mean, obviously, we thought that we were going to be getting daycare in the Alderborough Public School. Now we don't know because there was an announcement that Dorchester got daycare funding. So we've tried to keep touch with our local provincial representatives to see where that work is, but it really is a very frustrating process that we were almost there. There was building plans, permits issued, and then it didn't happen. And so that is one issue that we feel as though we're just kind of stuck in the mud here with.
Go ahead, Julie.
Thanks. So I'd be happy to connect with Magda on this one, and we'll see what we can do. Daycare is incredibly important in every community, and enhancing spots. Sometimes, it's a difficult feat, but Magda and I will work together and see if there's anything that we can do to escalate this.
Yeah, we just have so many young families that I talk to that, they put their name on the waiting list in the Dutton daycare, and 2 years later they're still not in, and so we know that. It affects our economy and our potential for attracting young families, which we really want to do. So, and the only other question before I let somebody else speak, I wondered if you had any sense of when the emergency declaration would end.
I don't.
Is it
locally? I think we're almost 10% of the population or the province's numbers. We locally, we're not doing as well as we could. So we got to watch it. So yeah, that's just a guess.
So through the chair, Councillor Rowe touched on what I was going to ask the question, but the other one is you talked about transportation strategies, and I know that you're still in the developmental stages. Have you considered a transportation strategy from the rural communities that go into St. Thomas to allow people to get to services? Is that something that's maybe being considered in your proposal?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Certainly, that is a key component of our transportation master plan. So it was included in the RFP, and the consultants are gathering some data at this time. So we hope in the spring that we'll have some more information about what a transportation strategy for our community might look like. That will help us with grant proposals and some planning around the council table. As you can imagine, with a county like ours, it is incredibly difficult to come up with a one-size-fits-all solution for transportation. And if I had to guess, it would be some sort of innovative solution and maybe even hybrid solutions that exist across the county. So more information to come, but we do have consultants undertaking that work as we speak. Great question.
You bet. That's what they're here for.
Transportation was on my list too, but I thought I was getting talking too much. But the Four Counties Transit Bus, which I'm on that committee, is always trying to, the last 2 years, of course, have been very challenging, but we really want to expand the use of that bus. And so I did go on the website, the county website, to try and put in my information about the transportation plan, but I had some difficulty, so I need to go back and try again. But that is something that perhaps could be kept in mind. Just we're in a unique situation in that it's 4 counties, and so we're trying to serve that circular area around essentially the center being the 4 Counties Hospital. But we do have some potential for expansion if that's of interest, and we've spoken to some of our surrounding partners. But just to keep that in mind as the transportation study goes forward would be great. Thanks.
If I may, through you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, please.
I'll connect with you directly on that because I think that information will be invaluable for the consultants to have as they are undertaking their work. So we'll make sure that we get as much information from you as needed and connect you directly with those consultants and your team.
Julie, just if I may, I'm on that representative, and they've gotten a lot of the information from 4 counties the consultants have. They've asked a lot of questions and they're very interested in it, and they've seen our maps and gone over, like in the meetings, we've gone over that, and that is a big part of what they've talked about.
Question? Hey, Teresa, you're being quiet this morning. You're not on holidays anymore. I have one of those wild brain thoughts here, and I don't know if it's ever been looked at or thought about at the county, because and it kind of comes on the heels of a little interview I did with the economic development a month or so ago, or 6 weeks ago. We have a lot of good stories happening in Elgin County, and the unfortunate part is in most cases the media isn't really interested in covering them. So, you know, other than a small group of individuals, there's very few people really know what is happening from border to border. And I'm wondering, and taking into context that that little roadshow that economic development put on, has there ever been any thought of putting together a little media department at the county that local municipalities like ourselves could get in contact with, and individual could come out and do a little film segment and maybe a little bit of interview, and that could be put on some type of format on our county website of what's the small ball happenings that are going on in Elgin County, that people would have the opportunity to actually sit there and look at you know, good things that are happening, whether it's improvement to an arena, or the opening of addition to a school, or something like that. Has that ever been kicked around in anybody's mind?
Mr. Mayor, that's a really cool idea. I think everyone would agree that you know, communications is something that is a priority for all of our municipalities. And while we have some folks who undertake work, it's often part of, you know, their suite of responsibilities. So we'll certainly take that back for consideration, and we'll work with the local administrators group to gauge interest. County Council made a change to our organization to enhance the communication efforts for the county. So I can't see why, you know, we couldn't enhance that service in such a way that we could help with promotional videos and help with media releases. And it'll actually probably end up further coordinating our efforts across the county, because, you know, we can't communicate with our constituents enough and with each other enough. So an amazing thought that you've just brought forward. Thank you. No, we don't. Amazing. See, we could all learn from each other too. This is amazing.
Angela.
Just to further add to that, having been involved in an event that went on last weekend, we reached out to the local paper trying to get them to promote the event. And initially they wanted $1,500 for a not-for-profit group that was trying to fundraise. And so I took it upon myself to reach out to several community members. And after we bombarded them with probably 30 messages and phone calls, we had to write the article that was provided in the paper, and we were given 3 hours notice.
And I think that's one of the big challenges that, you know, certainly Central August Park, you're well covered with the Elmer Expresses to all your meetings, and Malahide's the same way, and Bayham's the same way. But as soon as you leave the western borders of St. Thomas, we have a difficult time in our communities communicating with our residents, and even to the point that Elgin County could have discovered the secret of life. Nobody down here know about it because there's absolutely no media reporting to this end of the county. And I think it would be interesting for all residents of Elgin County that, the residents here could see what's happening in BAM and BAM could see what's happening in West Elgin. So I think that we probably put that that seed of an idea, and that's all it is at this point in time. It's a pretty plain picture that I know that Julie and her staff can, and along with the CAO's group, put some color to that picture. So anything else?
If I may, Mayor McPhail, I think that's a great idea. It's nice that every time Bo Horvath scored a goal that people actually knew where he come from.
Exactly.
And, share your successes. So I think that's a great idea.
And I think it's inspirational too. I mean, the little event that went on here a week or so ago with the little market, if you have a successful little event in your community, that's inspiring to other communities when they actually can see it happening. And I know I'm patiently waiting for the drone footage of our Toonie Tuesday. And certainly I think that's, again, something that will get to economic development, and quite possibly they can use that as, some type of flyover Rodney promotion or flyover West Elgin promotion. So
something through the chair.
Mm-hmm.
We did open a fish. We did open a fish cleaning station this year, which when you look at the people at the opening, there was say 30, 35 people there, and nobody else knows that was really happening, and the whole process took nearly 6 years to come to fruition. So it would be really nice to be able to spread that news out, and then people do know what we have. You know what I mean? So.
Actually, I knew about that, and I think we'd have to thank Norma because she put it on Facebook, so I was aware of it. So that shows you the power of social media. I was aware of that. Actually, that was a good day.
Well, just following on Richard's comments, I think you would agree that there are more people from outside this area know about that fish cleaning station than, because we had a meeting last night, and some of the club members were saying that it's absolutely well received by everybody. And these guys are fishermen and boaters, and they don't know of any place else that has a facility like that. And here it is, just on the lake in West Elgin. So I think there's merit of we've got a lot of wonderful people here, and a lot of great things that are happening here. And the unfortunate part is we're not very good at letting people know. Anything else for our guests?
Yeah,
Yes.
just wanted to thank you through the chair for our reconstruction. They're absolutely amazing. The streets look great. Everyone's very excited for our night market that's coming up December 4th. Just looks great. See, there's benches out, and they were out early this morning trying to make up for the rain, the Van Breed of the construction there. So yeah, it's just really great. And the town's very excited about, municipality is very excited about how it looks. And so were the merchants as well. So it's going really, really well. Thank you.
You got a question?
I don't have a question. I just want to extend our thank you for ongoing support and almost an immediate response to any issues that we are experiencing. Last 2 years, it's been nothing but great to work with Elgin County. For you to share with us your resources, expertise, and helped us a lot. You saved us a lot of money, and I hope we we keep this relationship going. Create even more efficiencies within municipalities, within the county. Basically, thank you for your support.
You're very welcome, and I want to make sure that everyone's aware. Mayor McPhail and I share the philosophy of good neighbors. Certainly Julie does, but we have some tremendous staff at the county. And I'll personally make sure, like Brian Lima is just he's one of those guys never quits working, very instrumental in that success of the road reconstruction. I'll make sure he's aware of that. But it's so pleasant when you see employees who are willing to listen, willing to help, and anytime. So I'm very proud of some of the employees. So I'll make sure they're aware of that. I think Duncan's nodding his head. Yes, we do have some good ones. So
one of them sitting right in here.
You're darn right. I think most of us know that, so won't embarrass her, but it's a good change. So again, thank you for the invitation today, and I know I've enjoyed myself. So
I guess just on a final personal note, you know, when we started this back in 2019 of going back around to the councils, because it was a practice that had kind of just fell off the edge of the table. And so Julie and I come to the realization that I think it's very important that the warden and the CAO get around and get to each council. And I have to say to you, Julie, from our first foray into this, boy, you put a pretty fine point on it, and it's pretty professional now, because we started out just kind of stumbling along, and it's come a long ways. And I think it's very, very vital that we do this. And again, thank you so much for taking the time, and certainly your Elgin County updates that come out after the meetings, I think have saved me a lot of verbiage in a meeting, because the information is pretty much all on our agenda, and people have the opportunity to read it, digest it, and if they've got any specific questions, you know, they've got time to formulate those questions. So it's a time saver, and I really appreciate you guys doing that. With that, if there's nothing else, we will see you shortly.
Thank
you. Yeah, he could have come in a long time ago. We didn't have a seat. Are you on the run this afternoon, Julie? On the road, any chance of a phone call somewhere? Yeah. All right, I'll give you a text. Okay. Are we going to do Jackie up first, or? Okay. There's Lee, yeah. I'm scared to go in that room, Lee, because you get locked in there. Okay, next item up here is the adoption of our minutes, a recommendation to minutes of the council meeting on October 14th, 2021 be adopted as circulated and printed. Mover and seconder. Cameron and Leatham, all in favor, and that is carried. Any business arising from those minutes? Seeing none, staff reports. I have first up here, I see Brian, but Jackie is, she's there. Okay. Good morning, Jackie.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. How are you today?
Good. I guess you can, you've sent your report out. Does council have any specific questions on your report before I read the recommendation? I'm not seeing anything. So do you have anything that you need to add since you produced the report?
No, I think the report is self-explanatory, but again, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Okay, well, with that, we do have a recommendation that West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from the CBO and to be received for information purposes, and that the proposed bylaw, being a bylaw to authorize execution of an agreement with Carlos Azevedo for the issuance of a conditional building permit at 24803 Pioneer Line, West Lorne, Ontario, in the municipality of West Elgin be considered in the bylaw portion of the agenda. Is there any comments on that
And if not, I'll have a mover and seconder for that recommendation. Moved by Rowe and seconded by Cammert. Any more discussion? All in favor? And that is carried. Okay, are you busy?
Yes.
Good. All right, well, that's a good thing. So we won't hold you up any longer. Thank you for your, what's that? Oh, she got another one. Yeah. Oh, didn't you see that? I thought we just had one deal. Okay, next item up, recommendation that West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from CBO to be received for information purposes, and that a proposed bylaw being a bylaw to delegate authority to enter into a conditional building permit agreement to the chief building official be considered in the bylaw portion of the agenda. Madam Clerk, do you want to explain that to council?
Sure. So this is basically a way to remove some red tape. It doesn't grant her permission to just go around and do whatever she wants. All this does is that agreement that she's entered into with Mr. Acevedo in the previous recommendation. This just allows her to continue entering into agreements without having to come back to council every single time to get approval to sign this agreement. The Municipal Act states that municipalities can't enter into agreements, but they have to do so by bylaw. So this gives her that substantially in the form of, she will continue to use that form. That form's been written and approved by Amy Dale, the solicitor, and Amy will continue to review any conditions that she adds to that form to make sure they're legal and everything. And it just saves the step. So for instance, like the previous one, had they made that agreement 2 weeks ago, she could have issued a permit right away, but instead it's had to be held up and wait to come to council. So it's just something like this to help her remove a step and move things along quicker. The right to issue and not issue is under the building code, not under, so it doesn't change anything. She still has the right to issue or not issue a conditional permit. It's just in order to do it, she has to have an agreement, and the agreement has to come to council. This stops the having to come to council every single time. So it moves things quicker.
Through the chair, by not having this agreement, are we not at risk of not issuing permits within the allotted timeline to which we need to respond to development?
Mayor, if I can answer that question, the conditional permits are when they don't have all of the information in front of us. So I can't issue a full permit. So there might be missing information, whether it's other parts of the compliance of the code with respect to, say, HVAC drawings or plumbing drawings or something to that effect. Or there's other steps. For instance, in a minor variance, there's an appeal period after a minor variance is approved, assuming it's approved at a committee of adjustment meeting. So instead of making someone wait, another 3 weeks for me to issue a full permit, this conditional permit agreement allows them to be issued a permit within the appeal period at their own risk, assuming nobody comes forward with an appeal, and that they would then either have to cease construction or remove construction, which is what the conditional permit agreement would enforce. And they are made aware of it by signing it, basically. So it just helps remove some of that waiting period before a full permit can be issued.
Thank you for the clarification.
I think this is a benefit to our ratepayers that, how impatient you can be sitting around a pot waiting for it to boil. This way here, Jackie can get them moving on with their projects, which when it becomes 1st of November, people really want to get moving before the weather closes in. So I think there's benefits of going this way. Bonnie?
Through the chair, I'm definitely in favor of anything that's going to support timely construction. I just had a couple of questions about how often you have run into this as being a request. So how often would you have given a conditional building permit? And as I read through the bylaw, I wondered in what situation would a conditional building permit be issued prior to payment being received or before rezoning changes, as those were some options.
Yeah, so typically I wouldn't issue a permit prior to fees being paid. That is an option, but I wouldn't typically do that. All the fees would have to be paid. If something has to go through a minor variance, for instance, it has to be heard at the Committee of Adjustment first and with no objection before I would issue a conditional permit. So the applicant will be taking their chances that no one comes forward after that hearing, for instance, and puts in an appeal. And most of the rest is, there might be some instance during, say, a site plan approval process where, zoning is met and it's just a matter of maybe some studies that are outstanding wherein they want to get going a bit quicker. So that might be something on a larger scale project we could try to accommodate a construction timeline and limit what they can do. Like, for instance, a foundation only permit subject to the fact that they have to submit what's remaining to get site plan approval, for instance, something like that.
Leave it on. Any other questions on this topic? Okay, seeing none. I believe I did read the recommendation. Did I get a mover and seconder for it? We need a mover and seconder for that recommendation. A move by Leatham, seconded by Rowe. All in favor, and that is carried. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Okay. Next item up, Mike. We're going to discuss the Mistley Side Road Waterline Extension. I have a recommendation that West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Mike Kalita, Utility Supervisor, Mistley Side Road Waterline Extension. More to it? No.
There is not, because we wanted to know what you wanted to do before they made a resolution.
Okay, and so how do you want to handle it? We need a mover and seconder for that recommendation.
We can add to it if you have an idea, if you want to follow the staff recommendation. I'm just pulling it up here. Just give me a second.
You put the words together.
Sorry. I thought I had that one written and I don't. And that West Elgin Council hereby approve the waiving of the outstanding fees of interest and penalty of $144.20 that has accrued to Mr. Van Every.
Okay, you heard the addition to the recommendation. Any more discussion on that? Mover and seconder for that. Moved by Rowe, seconded by Tellier. All in favor? And that is carried. That all you got on your plate? Okay. I guess our next item up is our fire report. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, Your Worship and Council.
I guess the report is in our package. Does anybody have any questions to Jeff regarding Jeff's fire report? Bonnie?
Through the chair, I noticed on your report that there are combination smoke and carbon monoxide alarms that have been donated to our municipality. And I just wondered if you had given some thought as to how those would be distributed, perhaps on a needs basis or something along those lines.
For sure, and through the chair to you, yeah, it was great news to get that announcement through Project Zero and Enbridge Gas. So we will be doing a news release, a bit of a media blitz on that sometime in the next probably month or so. So working with the fire prevention officer, early ideas are either a door-to-door campaign or possibly a request, smoke alarm request home inspection. So we still got some time to figure out how to best distribute them. But yeah, I would definitely want to target where they're needed the most.
Okay, any other questions? Tress.
Through the chair, I also had a question about the smoke alarms and detectors. Wondering, a long time ago, I was trying to connect to get alarms and such to go to the food banks to have handed out that way. Could that be something, the Daffodil Society and the Rodney Food Bank, to look at if someone's struggling with food insecurities? Maybe that would be something they also would want in their homes or their apartments. So just an idea. And if you need those connections, I have or Magda or Jana also have the contact information if you're interested. Just an idea.
That, for sure. No, that sounds like a great idea. And yeah, if whoever's best to kind of forward me that information, we can definitely look into that. But it's a great idea. And I should note, I don't think it mentions in the report specifically, but they're actually 10-year, so like a sealed battery alarm and a combination alarm, which I think it does mention. So both smoke and CO. So they're definitely, which is nice. They're definitely a high quality alarm that we can distribute. So yeah, great idea. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that is an absolutely brilliant idea. Certainly in an effort to try to keep people safe, and quite possibly that's something that they would forgo as a fire alarm.
Through the chair, I only thought of it as I just had to replace mine because they only have a 10-year life. And it wasn't huge cost, but I can imagine if you're struggling in other areas, it's a cost that you weren't thinking about. So it's a great thing, and we want to keep people safe. So yeah, maybe just something to think about, looking at that way the first of just for distributions.
Just on top of that is, should we be putting a letter together and maybe sending it off to West Elgin Mutual to see if there's any assistance for this type of program? They could make available a number of devices that could be donated to the food bank. I don't know who could put that letter together, whether it be you, Jeff, or through you and Magda sending it on our behalf. And quite possibly you could contact Dutton Dunwich to see if they would sign on to that initiative.
For sure, and I think councils likely or West Elgin Mutual has been a maybe more of a time a great supporter quietly of the fire department in providing alarms when requested. But I think something a little more formal in place would benefit everybody involved, I think, for sure.
Well, we'll leave that into your and Magda's care to see if you can come forward with a plan. Thank you very much for that, Tressa. Angela.
Thank you for the report. I noticed under other activities, a plan change to apparatus numbers. Can you clarify what exactly that means and elaborate for council?
For sure. Yeah, so we in Dutton, for comparison's sake or example's sake, Dutton Dunwich has just done this, and so the West Elgin, the county, Central Elgin, not the whole county, but Central Elgin, South Old, Dutton, and then West Elgin. When we switch over, I've just adjusted our apparatus numbers, making them a 2-digit number, where the first digit identifies which station the apparatus is from. So there was a lot of duplications. This is kind of, and this partly comes from my role as alternate fire coordinator in the county, but a lot of duplicates existed before in the county, which at times has a potential to create just some confusion on the radio, because Elgin County has a shared radio across the county, and fire dispatch also dispatches several other municipalities. So just to kind of improve communications and avoid any confusion on the air.
Thank you for that.
Any other questions for Jeff? Yes, Tress.
Through the chair, it's kind of a question for Magda and Jeff, if that's okay. I just see the motor vehicles on the accidents on the 401. I know at one point historically we had problems collecting for those invoices. Has that rectified itself over the last few years?
Yes, I believe so. I'll let Magda maybe better answer that question.
Yes, so every time fire department attends 401 incidents or accidents, we bill MTO accordingly. Yes, and we started that process a year and a half ago, and we are consistently receiving revenue for that.
Okay, any other questions? We're interviewing for new positions. Does that seem to be going well?
Yeah, and that's really the only thing I was going to actually add to the report is, so we did bring on, I think maybe it was in the last, no, it was in this month's report. So we brought 2 recruits off the waiting list. I would say that was, yeah, I guess in September, early September, that we interviewed last year, at the end of last year. And then we had interviews this week, Monday and Tuesday evening, and interviewed, just look at the list here, a combination of 11 applicants between the 2 stations. So we haven't made our final decisions or offers, but we probably anticipate bringing on, I think, six new recruits between the 2 stations, plus the 2 recruits that we just brought on from last year's recruitment. So that would be, I guess, 8 new firefighters. So that's encouraging. So it's good news to hopefully. We did focus on daytime availability again. That obviously doesn't every applicant doesn't have that, but we did have a few applicants that definitely did have some daytime availability for us. So hopefully we can build our roster a little bit that way.
Okay. Just a top of the head question here. Is our compensation package to our volunteer firefighters in line with other municipalities, or has ours somewhat lagged behind over the last number of years?
Very timely question. Actually, we discussed a little bit throughout the year, and just this week, or maybe it was last week, Meg and I, we were sharing some information about, because we did collect comparison information from all the Elgin County municipalities on their compensation rates. So there's definitely, it's been several years since there's been a change in West Elgin. So we're just kind of putting all that information together now. But there may be some justification for, if nothing else, we definitely have to look at that a little bit harder. And I think we'll probably bring a report or something to council for their information. So it's something that we've just been recently talking about.
Okay, excellent. All right, seeing no further questions, I believe I have, we've done the recommendation yet, and we had a mover and seconder. Mover and seconder for the recommendation. Tellier and Latham, all in favor. And that is carried. Thank you very much, Jeff.
Thank you,
Council. Be safe. We're gonna have a break here now. You go. Okay, next item up that we have on our agenda is the appointment of engineer to drainage works. We have a recommendation that West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Janet Nethercott, clerk, appointing drain engineer for drainage works a DK Andrews Drain, and West Elgin Council hereby appoints Spreet Associates engineers to prepare a report for the major improvement to the DK Andrews Municipal Drain. Any questions on that? Mover and seconder. Question? Sure.
Through the chair, I just wondered, is there any liability in this case because of the previous connection not being appropriate, or?
So I did ask Tom that. He unfortunately wasn't able to join us. It just means that the end of the drain in our area is not working as well, but it was the owner who chose, he didn't want it improved at that time. So he signed something. So we're okay, but now he has the funds and wants to improve it.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, mover and seconder for the report. Moved by Leatham, seconded by Tellier. All in favor? And that is carried. That it for drains? Okay, next item up, planning. Brian, are you back?
Okay, I guess we can continue on with me and, oh, here he comes.
Good morning, Brian.
Hey, good morning. Can you guys hear me all right?
We sure can. I'm going to read the recommendation and then you can provide any comments. Recommendation of West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Brian Pierce regarding the consent application file E8621, comments to County of Elgin Planning Report 2021-31, and that West Elgin Council hereby recommends approval of to Land Division of the County of Elgin for a severance application file E8621, subject to the lower tier conditions in Appendix 2 of this report, and further that West Elgin Council directs administration to provide this report as municipal comments to the County of Elgin. Before I call for a mover and a seconder, anything you want to add to that? It's pretty straightforward.
Fairly straightforward, I think. A good news story of a proposed lot creation within West Lorne, within our downtown commercial core. Again, it's a 0.32 hectare or 3/4 of an acre type property that's proposed to be severed. So obviously, as I noted in the report, there are next steps. There'll be a subsequent rezoning process as well as site plan processes to develop on those lands. So this is step one of many planning processes to proceed with development on the site. So with that, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay. It's almost 3 acres, you're saying?
0.3 hectares or 3/4 of an acre is the separate parcel.
Oh, okay.
The total property in itself is 3.5 hectares or 8.6 acres.
Okay.
So that makes
3/4 of an acre. That's
not a 3/4 of an acre. So it's approximately 80 by 338 feet. So
now is there a what is that currently zoned?
Property is currently zoned 2 zone categories. Majority of the property is zoned open space. And the western portion of the property is zoned public utility. So to facilitate development, rezoning would come after the lot's created. So it doesn't need to be a condition of consent because the lot area and lot frontage requirements meet the standard. So rather than burden the applicant with an additional condition, they can expedite the conditions of approval this way and start the other planning processes as they see fit throughout the process.
Do you have any indication what the end zoning is going to be?
Yes, I would support a rezoning to downtown core commercial zone to be consistent with our official plan designations.
Cool. All right. Yes, Bunny.
Through the chair, to be perfectly honest, I had some difficulty trying to visualize this. I guess my first question is with regard to your picture on the second report there, the second graphic there. So is the retained portion everything from the end of the severance all the way west, like that? Those blocks of area sort of got in the way, and when I tried to envision the length of the retained portion, the numbers from your first report didn't seem to match it, sort of thing. And I would point out too that there is an error on that first report in that when you look at the frontage of the retained parcel, 52 meters isn't 70 feet. So it's actually 170 feet. So
Okay.
just to clarify with you, the retained portion is that whole stretch, is it?
Yeah, sorry about the typo on the chart. I tried to make it easy reference, and my haste, I guess I missed a number when I was trying to cross reference the units of measure, but totally agree with you. So with regards to the retained parcel on the sketches, I think that's what you're referring to. Unfortunately, I don't have abilities to manipulate where the labels go, so that's the best I could work with you. But essentially, the retained parcel is significant length. It's upwards of 700 plus meters there. If you add up 506 plus the 131 and the 132 meters that you see on the other side, that'll give you some indication of how long that parcel really is in there. And it actually only has a little bit of frontage there down by Beecher Street, just because of the nature of the existing lot that's there.
So as a follow-up then, so just looking at the retained parcel, it's got a depth of 120 feet. Sorry, I'm in the old measurements.
That's so why I put them both there. No problem.
120 feet for the retained parcel. The severed parcel is about 3 times that length. But when you look at that, the planning report, the second piece, the retained parcel looks a whole lot longer than 3 times the severed portion. So that's why I wasn't sure where
So if we look at, if council looks at severed parcel 1, all right, I can bring it up on the screen if it's easier. Is that what council's preference is, or?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Do.
Great, give me a second to do that. Oh, maybe Jana has to do it, I guess. I don't have the abilities, so it told me no.
Just give me 1 second, Brian, and I'll get it up.
Yeah. So if the clerk's going to share it, if we could go to maybe the first sketch on appendix 1 of the report.
1 second, I gotta get there.
Yep, I'm just trying to get there myself. Looks to be about page 53 of the agenda package. Thank you. So this sketch here is the severed parcel to be sold off. So orientation of this lot is the 24 meters. That's considered the lot frontage because it's the shorter of the side because it's a corner lot. So that's why you're had a great conversation essentially on those. Why is the depth so different? Well, orientation of the lots are different. When you have a corner lot, the shortest side abutting the street is the lot frontage. So orientation is shifted 90 degrees with regards to the severed portion. So that's how we got to those numbers. The depth of those lots is 103 meters or 338 feet. And that area there is 0.3 hectares or the 3/4 of an acre, essentially. So if Jana goes to the second sketch for me, this is a little bit broader of a picture, obviously. The severed parcel is shown at the far right there in the on the sketch. Yeah, exactly. And then the retained parcel is the remainder of this 3+ hectare, about 8 acres of property there. And the orientation is different because it has street access onto Monroe Street. So that's the frontage. So that's at 52 meters way at the far right of the map. And then the depth would be the north-south distance of the lot. And that's why it's the 36 meters or the 120 feet.
Now, this potential severance is the access to that property off of Graham Road or off of, I guess it would have to be off Graham Road or off Monroe Street.
So site development will go through site plan processes. Direction for land development is always to access the lower order road. So we'd be promoting access onto Monroe rather than Graham, because Graham's a higher order road and you want some separation in between street accesses and internal accesses. So that's the intent.
Any other questions? Okay, I've read the recommendation. Do we have a mover and seconder? Moved by Cameron, seconded by Leatham. All in favor? That is carried.
Thank you.
That's all we got for you, Brian?
Yep.
Okay, you have a great day. See you later. Okay, next item up. Delegation request, Dutton Dunwich, West Elgin Housing Stability Task Force. I have a recommendation that West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Janet Nethercock, clerk. A delegation request from Dutton Dunwich West Elgin Housing Stability Task Force for information purposes. Can you take us through that?
So we've had another delegation from Mr. McConnell regarding the Housing Stability Task Force. And he provided, when the first request came in September, I asked him if he had the information that council asked of him, because our bylaw does allow a second follow-up. And the information he provided is that attachment. And I want to know if council is happy with that information and want him to come back again, or if you would like me to send him a letter, you know, clarifying, do they want different information, more information? I guess I'm basically looking for council's direction on what you would like to see happen with that. Because we only literally have 3 councils left this year, and there's a lot of information to get through. So I want to make sure that I'm not, you know.
Is council happy that the responses back were answering the specific questions that we had already asked? Angela?
So through the chair, I was pretty specific with the information that I had requested, as well as the public information sessions that I wanted to happen before they came back to council. I have not seen that presented in this report that was given to council. Mr. McConnell did reach out to me this week and we had a fairly lengthy conversation. And at that time, he was not able to answer the majority of the questions that I asked him. So I feel that this information is still very vague and a work in progress. I would encourage the committee to spend the next couple of months further nailing this down and then request to come back to council early in the new year.
Any other comments? Yes.
I did ask, I did request if they knew any numbers from West Elgin or that they had of the homes, and I had a reply on that.
I think that in my mind that we should instruct the clerk to work with Mr. McConnell to try to get more clarification on some of the questions that we have asked. I think that we also should be talking to some of the other individuals that are involved with, i.e. the Community Health Center and the social services out of St. Thomas, possibly having representatives from their group coming to any delegation in the future, whenever that might be. Certainly, I think one of the things that we did maybe not mention at the last time of delegation is that not only do we have a zoning issue that we have to contend with, we also have another bylaw on the books that does not allow habitation in trailers from
zoning.
It's a zoning issue that we don't allow habitation in trailers from November 1st until March 31st. That is certainly to alleviate any of our trailer parks of people living there through the winter months and not being able to be accessed by emergency services and whatnot. And We don't have the infrastructure, certainly in our park, to sustain winter living because the water lines are very close to the surface and would freeze. So that throws in another problem that we would be kind of working both sides of the street if we didn't make the proper.
So, Mr. Mayor, if we were to write a letter with the information as you guys are providing now, and I address it to the entire committee and send it to all of the people that we have previous information on, like from their previous minutes, as well as me as Councillor Tellier to take to the meeting, so that it's not just Mr. McConnell getting this information, it's the entire committee, so they're aware of where we're at. Would that be more appropriate?
Well, and I think you should also include Dunwich in the.
Yeah, they do have a rep, so yeah, and include Dunwich.
So include them in the correspondence too. Everybody satisfied with that? Bonnie, question?
No, I just wanted to give some comments in terms of what was presented, and you know, obviously the things that Councillor Cameron mentioned were on my list that were missing. I really kind of feel I feel as though this person or this committee needs help with writing a business plan, and I wonder whether we can either make a list of all of the things that we would expect to see in a business plan. You know, for example, who's writing it? So is it Mr. McConnell, or is there a committee of half a dozen other people? And if so, then we need to know those people and the amount of dollars needed, and who's going to pay that. Do we have a supporting letter from the organization that says, yes, we will cover X number of dollars from this draft budget that is submitted? And you know, have other locations been investigated? I think that was part of what we talked about the other day. So what work has been done in looking at alternate locations? And you know, we talked about the activities of the residents through the rest of the day, and he felt that he had answered it, but at the same time, it isn't really fully answered because yes, we have some things that could happen through the day: shower, laundry, visit with a system navigator. But what happens with the rest of the day? What kinds of activities, or how will those individuals who are not allowed to go back into this home going to spend the day? What if it's really, really cold out? You know, those sorts of, you know, questions that we really didn't hear the answers to. How many volunteers will be included in this project? Do they have a list of, you know, do they have half a dozen people that are going to be called in to do the security over the nighttime? You know, and then all of the different, you know, as Councillor Cameron said, the fire, the planning, the building, and what were the responses. I didn't see anything about the planning discussion. So as far as I know, Mr. McConnell hasn't spoken to the planner and hasn't got an idea of how long that process is and what steps he will need to take and so forth. Like, personally, they would do well to have this project ready for next year.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think if we can help them as much as possible with what the plan needs to look like, what things they need to be thinking about, and you know, whether that's, I don't know who they can work with, like maybe the support services have some sort of help that, you know, in writing a business plan. They have other help with people who, you know, are trying to create a resume, for example. So maybe there is somebody somewhere that can help them with what this plan that is very complex and has a lot of parts to it. And I'm not saying that it's not possible. I mean, the news just had a London, a very similar project that's happening in London this winter. And so it is possible, but we need to think about all of the different things before we can say, yeah, we'll let you use that land. So
London's setting up what, 34 or 38 places in a population of over 500,000 people.
And they are also full day and night. They stay there. Yeah. It's not just they go there for the nighttime and then they have to go somewhere else. Like, I just don't know whether that's going to answer the problem that we have here.
And it's being funded, as I heard this morning, by the federal and provincial government
Yes.
and the cities. So there's a lot more players at the game. Trust it.
Through the chair. So I'm on this committee, as you know. So we had a plan to have it at Grace Anglican Church on Morden last year. The residents in that area did not enjoy that plan, so we shut it down. Didn't happen. Working for this year, they have a lawyer, a retired gentleman who is the head of the United Way, working on their business plan, and other people at the health center working on their business plan. They have a lady from housing, her name's escaping me right now, working on things with them. They have many behind the scenes experts going on. They have a short-term, mid-term, and long-term committee all going. Very active. A lot of community members are very supportive of it from both West Elgin and Dunwich. People have just come out to the Zoom meetings. We have them still via Zoom, the Zoom meetings to see what's going on with this and are worried about the area. We have even explored the option doing something that other communities have done where, say you're an empty nester and someone just needs 60 days to get themselves into a program or get themselves the facilities that they need to get there. So you would kind of open your home to that person for 6 weeks, explored everything that other communities have and look to other communities. We have In Out of the Cold coming and helping us with things they've done in the past. They've been doing that for over a year with us. So there's a lot going on that has gone on. They do have a solid plan. I just don't think they're executing it well enough to the community and to us maybe, which I've reiterated over and over, and unfortunately I missed a couple meetings, but yeah, it's difficult to get all those cogs in the wheel together. So yeah, that's why they wanted to do something this year, because they planned it last year. It was kibosh. They had the insurance in place. They had Anglican Church said, okay. They had the health unit out that approved everything. They had security in place. Volunteers were about to do the volunteer training and it got cut up short. So very dismayed, very determined group, but yeah, I just think maybe they're not expressing themselves, that they have had a lot go on with a lot of experts and people in this field that have a lot of input. We do still have a lot of people. Now we're discussing the people that are going to be around in the community. What do they do in their day? Well, they're adults, their own free will. What do we do during the day? We do our own free will. We can't control what these people are doing in our community. We can't herd them like cattle to something that maybe they don't want to be part of. You know, when you go into St. Thomas, In Out of the Cold has, not In Out of the Cold, the Grace Cafe has people constantly there, police constantly there, and that's a dedicated place for them to be. So if we have a few people wandering our streets doing what the rest of the citizens who have homes are doing, I mean, you can't herd them into one place and expect that they're going to be acting appropriately. Grace Cafe is a great example of people not acting appropriately. So, and they have something to do there. So I just don't know what solution we're looking for to have this handful of people during the day between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. going to. Like there's nothing for them to go to, and other communities are things we go to, and still doesn't help. So I don't know what we're looking for there. That's the question I have, what we're looking for them to do during the day.
Well,
they're adults with their own free will. They can do whatever they like.
And you know, very, very well said. But I think that, you know, you've alluded to the fact that there is maybe a lot more under the surface than what has been presented to us at this point in time. And I think it falls back on your group to put that and pull that all together in a comprehensive report that kind of makes sense and answers all these questions. And I don't think that by having them come to as a delegation right away and try to just reiterate what has already been brought to us without having even answered all the basic initial questions that we had is going to be productive of their time or productive of our time. So is it something that when I guess that, you know, if you're a part of the committee, if and working on the inside, that if you see or feel that they've got it all together, then you can let us know and then we can discuss a delegation.
I'm not disagreeing that they don't need to have a better plan out there. They need to have something a little more professional and a little more intricate come out.
Yeah.
So I agree with that.
Well, and I guess the biggest concern that I have got is that depending what our involvement is, we have to be very cautious because as a municipality, I don't think that we're in that business at this point in time. And I'm always worried that we take on so-called even a pilot project, as they're calling it. And pilot projects sometimes have the tendency to grow roots, and those roots grow right into the taxpayers' pocketbook, and then we end up ultimately being totally responsible for it. And is that the business that that we should be in, or is that something that we we pay our levy to the county that supports the St. Thomas Housing Authority, and are they the ones that should be responsible for it? The other thing that's kicking around in my mind is I don't think that we really should be having a delegation until after we have this housing meeting with the county. I think that might shed some light on and be able to hear see the study, hear the study, and hear what is going on in our community. So I think it's just premature at this time. And is everybody in agreement that we, yeah, I'll get you here, that we just tell Kelsey that we're not prepared at this time.
Yeah, I will update the recommendation.
Yeah, Richard.
Yeah, I would agree with what you just said, but we've got one big problem, and that's the bylaws. You can't make one bylaw for one place and one for another. It just won't work. I'm already having people from trailer parks phoning up, asking if they can stay through the winter, and they turn themselves as homeless if they couldn't. So, I mean, so we can't do, it's either one bylaw or it's one bylaw for all. And that's the way it's got to be. I can't understand the 7 o'clock and 7 o'clock, for instance. I mean, I know what a winter night feels like and a winter morning feels like. And if you go, you're not allowed to go indoors until 7 o'clock at night, or you've turned out at 7 o'clock in the morning, that's when the coldest times of day is. And I just can't visualize that happening. That's tough. In my opinion, it's almost cruelty. I can't see that happening. And I think, like I said, if you make one rule for one, we're in a hornet's nest. We're going to get people requesting from all over, because we have so many trailer parks and so many people wanting to do that. So we've really got to tread lightly on this one, I think.
Any more discussion on this? Do you need a resolution?
So yeah, the first part that you'll receive my report for information purposes, and that West Elgin Council directs staff to issue a letter to the task force requesting more information prior to the invitation for further delegation. I've gotten all of your notes, and I will send you guys out kind of an idea before it gets sent.
You've all heard the recommendation, mover and seconder for that. Cameron and Leatham, all in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Okay, next item up is councilor reports from committees. Anybody have anything that they would like to bring to council's attention? Seeing none, notice of motion. Seeing none, anybody have any announcements? What, are you getting divorced, married? Okay, I think we have a matter of urgency.
Yes, so the CIO treasurer has brought to council's attention, would like to bring to council's attention that we just received the information, and it's time sensitive, for Investing in Canada infrastructure program, the COVID-19 resilience infrastructure stream local government intake. This agreement needs to be signed and sent back to the province as soon as possible. So I do have a recommendation to direct the mayor and clerk to sign this agreement, which is required as part of this process. So if you would like me to, your worship, I can read the resolution.
You do that.
The West Elgin Council approves the mayor and clerk to sign the transfer payment agreement for Investing in Canada infrastructure program, COVID-19 resiliency infrastructure stream, local government intake. And just if you have questions, that is the money that we received. It's $100,000 that's going towards the rehabilitation of the municipal office.
Okay. Question? Okay.
I realized I forgot to say that before I got that far. Sorry.
Just before I call the vote on that or ask for a mover and seconder, Magna toured the site the other day. She informed me they are pulling the insulation out of the walls and it's just black. So certainly it was a necessity that this upgrade was done. You know, the building's 40 some odd years old, and I think it's the responsibility of all of us around here to maintain and protect the people's assets. And this is something that is just not right to have a work environment or a facility that is deteriorating and not look after it. So. Anything else you want to add to the tour that you had?
No, but I have been every time I try to take a sneak peek of what's going on in our office. So I have been collecting some pictures since September 29th. So I will forward that to you because there's a huge change. We're at the point where you would not even recognize the office. It's just a skeleton with 2x4s and drywall has been removed. Same with insulation, as long as there is no ceiling tiles, all light fixtures. It's a bare bone office. So interesting to see. December 31st. And at this point, they're on schedule. So keep your fingers crossed.
And they are bound by a penalty clause. So.
Turn your microphone back on, sir.
Okay.
Multiples can be on at the same time.
All right. With that, you heard the resolution. Do I have a mover and seconder for the matter of urgency? Moved by Rowe, seconded by Cameron. All in favor? That is carried. Lee, is there anything that's burning on your mind that you'd like to bring to council? I know you've a new supervisor working now and probably up and running very quickly. He knows what's expected of him. So that probably is comforting to you to have somebody that's out there doing that for you.
Yeah. He supported the previous supervisor in a backup role for the last almost 18 months now. So he is, very capable of doing the position, and he's taken on that role. So effective Monday, the 25th, I think I sent the notice out to everybody. So now we're just in the process of trying to fill a position as an operator's position for the winter time. And it's it could have been a little bit sooner in the year to have this all happen, as we're getting close to crunch time now for the snowflakes, but we'll get that done. And yeah, I think it's going to go well.
I have a question on the Furnival Road reconstruction on the north end where the new pavement meets the old pavement. Is that a potential snowplow killer?
It is certainly something that we have to be aware of. We actually put markers in for our own operators. Probably 3 weeks ago now, we marked both ends actually of Furnival Road. But in our last meeting with Van Breeze, our construction meeting, I brought that point up. So they're actually going to put some larger permanent bump signs on.
They've got a big enough bump there now.
Yeah, they're going to put those signs up for the wintertime and to mark all 4 locations. So there'll be the two ends of Queens Line and the 2 ends of Furnival Road at the boundary of the construction. So the operators are going to have to be aware. Unfortunately, there's not much they can do. There is going to be a bump there. So they're just going to have to be aware of that and be cautious, and as well as the new curb and gutter, because with the top lift of asphalt not going on till spring, there's there's a 2-inch or actually almost a 3-inch lip there at all the curb and gutter. So they're going to have to be cautious that they don't start knocking chunks out of that through the winter time as well. So it was brought up in our winter maintenance meeting.
Buddy.
So do you know what the plan is for the project meeting accessibility requirements that were overlooked?
Do you want me to answer that?
Sure.
I attended the meeting, or I watched it. At this point, the committee would like a fully accessible parking spot, and they are going to refer it back to the county. We haven't had it brought back to us yet because it hasn't been dealt with at county council yet, or it was just on Tuesday, was it? No, okay, so it's being brought to the next county council, and then we'll receive it in probably November. They're going to suggest we put it on a side street so they don't have to do curb cuts and not just a painted one. The committee did want a fully accessible one, and at this point it's looking like they're going to suggest Mariah Street.
And does that include the crosswalk cuts as well? What is the status of those?
That will be up to Lee and the engineer to maybe discuss when we're discussing the idea of this accessible parking spot. They're to come back with a plan to that committee to approve the final
So
version.
that isn't a requirement in the Accessibility Act, or?
It is. They do have a little bit of leeway in that it's not a brand new road, it's a reconstruction from what I was told at the committee. They have a little bit more of a leeway with curb cuts because they were just putting it back in the original condition. But I believe county engineering is investigating and learning some more.
If I could just pass on my own comments, just to look at how people need to use those cuts. It is an accident waiting to happen. And yes, it's a county road. They would be liable, but we would be also. So I think that's a risk there. When I see the videos of people having to come out into the road to roll their walker or their buggy up.
I think this has been a learning experience for the county. They went through a transition of accessibility coordinators. And then with the change of the year, there was also some newer requirements between when they were designed and when the construction started. So it's been, like I said, a bit of a learning experience. When the issue that ours didn't have an accessible parking spot was brought forward, it was during my review with the accessibility coordinator over our accessibility projects. And it was also discovered in multiple other reconstructions throughout the county. So they are working on a plan with the accessibility coordinator and the committee at this point. And Warden Marks is actually on that committee and has been like fairly vocal, and he was said, I'm sure West Elgin will work with us, but we're going to need to go back to all of our partners for all of these projects that were brought forward. So I believe they'll be meeting with the people at like in Lee's position with the other municipalities for that too. So I think it's coming.
I think the ability for curb cuts is not a real onerous thing either, is it not? That we can.
No, it's not. But I think obviously anytime you have on-street fully accessible parking is a difficult thing to do, just because of the size requirements for those stalls to make them proper. That was one of the reasons why we thought about Mariah Street. There are no curbs there, and we have the platform width there that we can do something. So it has that whole area to the right of the vehicle would be completely accessible so they're not having to come out into the street. So obviously, actually, to be honest, the ideal situation is to have off-street parking, like have an actual municipal parking lot somewhere where you can have that accessible stall or two accessible stalls in that parking area where it's not on street, but we don't have that luxury in Rodney. So we'll work with the county engineer, and there's already been a couple of draft designs circulated for
The other issue is that the committee brought up was the length behind. It would actually almost be 2 full parking stalls long in order for people who, so actually the chair of the Accessibility Advisory Committee stated that he accesses his vehicle through the rear. And that's actually the biggest, that's a big one for them. It's not just the side load, it's the rear load. So you basically take up 3 spots between the side and the back to be a fully accessible spot. So we don't have a lot of parking.
Bonnie was up first.
Yeah, just as a follow-up then, it wasn't so much the accessible parking that I was concerned about. It's the pedestrian crossings and that, you know, the fact that pedestrians can cross from, you know, the east side of Furnival to the west on the north side of that main intersection and still can't get across to the sidewalk on the west side. They have to go around into the street and come up across Queen Street. So for an example, so to me, we should be looking at cutting out those curbs in all 4 squares in the 2 main intersections would be what I think we should be looking at to avoid a liability issue. But I don't know how easy that is to do.
Well, like you and I talked, when they build a new subdivision, they pour the complete curbs, and then not knowing where the building design of the home is going to put the driveway, then they come in afterwards and will cut out that access to get in. So I think that Lee can bring this up with Brian Lima, and if there's something that we need to do, we can look forward to it. Yes, Angela.
So when you're talking about curb cuts, normally, at least over here by the school, when they poured the wheelchair accessible, there is actually something on the corner. Lee, is that my memory correct on that? Where when that sidewalk was poured, there's actually like it's a raised thing that sits on the corner that's wheelchair accessible. So if they cut the curbs, they won't, that was paved in at the time when they did it. That won't be there, correct? The little ridges.
Oh, you're talking about the tactile plates.
Yes.
So yeah, those are put in anytime you have an entrance point from a sidewalk onto a street. Accessibility calls for tactile warning plates to be installed so that somebody can't walk off the sidewalk inadvertently out into the street. So that would have to be any place you're going to add a curb cut and make that transition, you would have to remove the concrete in behind as well, and you would have to reinstall it with those.
And re-concrete it in, correct? Okay, and my other question, we're talking Mariah Street for the wheelchair. Refresh my memory, I do believe that's where we put the wiring for the charging stations.
In one location there, so we would put it, that would be a joint. There's additional space there for parking. Okay. So that could be reworked on Mariah Street. The conduit, because it's actually coming from the corner of Stinson and Mariah, so it's traveling by, we could shift that charging stall slightly to the east and make room for that accessible parking right off of Furnival.
And just to be the devil's advocate, there's no requirement that electric charging stations be wheelchair accessible? Or is that a accessibility requirement? Just to put that.
Not at this time, no.
Okay.
Because very few places have them.
The electric charging stations. Okay.
And they're, yeah, so it's accessible, not wheelchair accessible.
Or, sorry, accessible. My apologies. Thank you for the information.
Okay. See that Pandora's box I opened up, Lee? All right, we've got ourselves down to accounts. I have a recommendation here that the mayor and treasurer hereby authorized to sign payment voucher number 10A amounting to $230,945.13 in settlement of general road, water, and arena accounts. Everybody is, Magna has sent that out. Anybody have any specific questions that are not been answered that need clarification? Seeing none, mover and seconder for that recommendation, moved by Cammert and seconded by Leatham. Before I call the vote, we got the money, have we?
We do.
We do. Okay, all in favor? Carried. We'll go down to correspondence. Elgin County Council highlights, just an FYI for all council members. Certainly always remember if you have a question, bring it forward at any time. Municipality of Leamington support Amos's recommendation, long-term care COVID-19 commission. What's your pleasure there? Bonnie?
Chair, I believe that Amos's recommendations were very well thought out, and I think we should support this resolution.
You would move that?
I would.
Seconder for that, second by Cameron, all in favor? That is carried. Provincial, Ontario Provincial Police Memorial dedication to officers who died by suicide. What's your pleasure?
Through the chair, I'd like to support this, make a motion to support it.
Oh, it's actually, we don't need, unless you want to write a recommendation to support it, it's just the information.
Okay.
It's up to you if you'd like to. It's just literally a recommend. It's just information that they have it.
You're okay with that? Okay, next item up, West Lorne Optimus request to close the road.
I have a resolution if you're ready.
Okay, would you read the resolution?
The West Elgin Council hereby supports the closure of Graham Road between Gilbert Street and West Elgin Community Center on Friday, November 26, 2021, between 7 p.m. and 8:30 p.m.
Okay, mover and seconder for that. Moved by Rose, seconded by Cameron. Any more discussion on it? Any questions on that? Fairly straightforward. All in favor? That is carried. Royal Canadian Legion Remembrance Day request.
So I have two recommendations for this. So that West Elgin, sorry, we have to do them separately for the county. That West Elgin Council hereby supports the closure of Graham Road between Jesse Street and Marsh Line on November 11th, 2021, between 10:30 a.m. and 11:30 a.m.
Mover and seconder. Moved by Rowe, seconded by Cameron. All in favor? Carried.
The next one is that West Elgin Council hereby supports the closure of Furnival Road between Victoria Street and Clark Street on November 7th, 2021, between 10:30 a.m. and 11:30 a.m.
That's the Sunday?
That's the Sunday, yeah.
Okay. Moved by Atelier and seconded by Lethem. All in favor? That's carried. Guess that's it for our correspondence. As Jana had mentioned, I think at our last meeting, she has put a list of upcoming meetings.
Do you want me to go through them all?
I think everybody can read them.
Okay.
There's one error.
One error?
Okay.
What?
The December should be December 16th instead of
19th.
19th.
Oh.
Okay.
Sorry.
Everybody make that correction. Okay, we are at our bylaw portion of our meeting.
Want me to take over, sir?
You bet. We have bylaw 2021-58.
This is the ICIP Community Culture Recreation Grant Transfer Payment Agreement. So this is for the Old Town Hall in Rodney. This is just agreeing that this is what we have, that the mayor and clerk sign it to get the money if we wish to use it. So it's bylaw 2021-58, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a transfer payment agreement for Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, ICIP, Community Culture and Recreation Stream Project between Her Majesty the Queen Right in Ontario, represented by the Minister of Infrastructure, and the Corporation of the Municipality of West Elgin, be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Okay, mover and seconder for the bylaw. Question.
I know that initially when we got news of this wonderful news, we wondered whether we were, because the grant submission was 2 years ago, whether the funds would actually be sufficient or not. Do we know any additional information about that, or are we just going to go based on what we get and we'll cut corners where we need to?
Well, I think that question is being asked and on a lot of fronts. And as of yet, I don't know if there's a definitive answer to it. The only thing that we do have is a significant window of opportunity to make a decision whether we revamp the plan or how we move forward with this. And we'll make those decisions, I think, after things get to the spot that we can have some public meetings and ask the public just exactly what they want. So, but this is a necessary bylaw that we have in place to even begin the process.
Yeah, we
For
have
sure.
to, we have to
For
sign
sure.
this agreement to get any
Yeah.
money to even engineer the product, to find out how much
I
it
understand.
cost.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Yeah, for
there's
sure.
a lot of little details left.
We obviously have till 2028, but will we be receiving an update as to what the steps will look like over the next 4 years?
Right now, the project
Olay.
has been deferred for discussion to the next year with council. So we'll probably go from there.
Okay, moved, seconded. Tellier, all in favor? That is carried.
Okay, so it's bylaw 2021-59 conditional building permit agreement. That bylaw 2021-59 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement with Carlos Acevedo for the issuance of a conditional building permit at 24803 Pioneer Line, West Lorne, Ontario, in the municipality of West Elgin, be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Mover and seconder, moved by Cammert, seconded by Leatham, all in favor? That is carried.
So we're jumping just because of my numbering had to change because of the late edition. So bylaw 2021-61, delegation of authority for conditional building permit agreements. That bylaw 2021-61 being a bylaw to delegate the authority to enter into conditional building permit agreements to the chief building official, be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Mover and seconder, moved by Rowe, seconded by head nodding counts. Cammert, all in favor? Okay.
Now we're on to the confirming bylaw. So that bylaw 2021-60 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of council held on October 28, 2021, be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Mover and seconder. Tellier and Leatham, all in favor? That is carried. And we have an adjournment. The Council of the Municipality of West Elgin hereby adjourns at 11:32 to meet again at 9 o'clock on November 4, 2021 as Committee of the Whole, and November 18th, 2021 as council or at the call of the chair. We have a mover and seconder, I guess, Cammert and Tellier, and all in favor. And that is carried. Thank you very much. Have a great day. That was Ron Fox call.